Did you want to explain the process, or you want to draw something on the whiteboard?
Oh, either or.
Probably.
We've got it here.
Yep.
So the broccoli would be harvested and collected and put into bins or some sort, and then they'll be moved by some sort of farm machinery to like a warehouse sort of thing just on the farm, where they can sort through and find the good quality broccoli and all that sort of thing. Then they'll be moved into a storage room ready for their collection, and they might actually be packaged at this point into little boxes, just cardboard boxes and plastic wrapped, or one of those sort of little containers. Then they'll be, from the storage room, they'll be then loaded onto pallets and then into containers and then into trucks. And then they will be driven to either the toll port at Burnie or the Spirit of Tasmania, and then they'll have to be checked for quarantine and customs and be signed off there. They'll be then driven onto the ships and shipped across Bass Strait, that's you.
Thank you.
And then shipped across Bass Strait to the Port of Melbourne. Then they'll be checked there. They'll be unloaded at the port and moved to a cool store warehouse until they're ready for their collection. Then their documentation and export clearances will be conducted. Then they will be moved from the warehouse and loaded onto another ship bound for Southeast Asia. Then the ship will move them to the destination and unload them, and then they'll be cleared by customs. They will then be unloaded from the ship and moved onto the land, and they'll be moved to a storage area. They'll have their import documentation and clearances conducted there. Then they'll be loaded onto trucks and transported to the supermarket chain, and then they'll be distributed using their trucks from probably a central point, being that they've got 100 stores. And then they'll be unloaded and then sold to the consumer.
In your plate. So you choose to use shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Can't we just go for 100 stores?
Yeah. If
You've got way too much.
you're shipping 100 stores worth of broccoli from Melbourne to Southeast Asia, it will cost a lot of money to do it by air freight compared to shipping when the technology is there for the longer life.
However, based on the information, unless they were paying an extremely premium price for broccoli, therefore it could potentially be affordable. But broccoli isn't exactly like a hot commodity, I wouldn't say, and it's not something that would potentially fetch an extremely high price, which could combat the fact that air freight is so expensive. Therefore, there is more risk of the company running at a loss for shipping, or freighting.
So between shipping and the air, was certainly very good point. Can we actually get a premium price for broccoli, or say $10 a kilo? Would that be possible? I can say yes, it's possible. It's possible. Sometimes even in Australia supermarket, you see broccoli probably over $5 a kilo. So you possibly get a $10 per kilo for the premium quality. As I said, the Tasmania broccoli is very sweet, high quality, and look at the season as well, and the overall environment. So people can possibly pay high prices for this one. Now,
And there might be the opportunity to ship to a certain destination and then air freight it, and it'll get there quicker in time, and that might reduce costs as well.
yeah. So this is my next question. When you say use shipping, how long broccoli going to last? The shelf life. If you have to spend, say, 15 days or even longer on the journey, transport process.
It's perishability.
If it's refrigerated, a few weeks.
Hmm?
If it's refrigerated, I think maybe 3 weeks is probably enough time.
Okay, next time you do an experiment, you buy a kilo or probably half a kilo of probably just one head of broccoli and put it in your fridge and see how many days you can keep it fresh.
But that broccoli has already been traveling for like 2 weeks, probably.
Yes,
So
you don't know
it
how long
won't
it's
come
been sitting
out.
in a storeroom, you don't know,
Yeah.
so many factors.
So that won't be a.
I'm sorry.
That won't be a.
I've had
Good
broccoli, I've had
experiment.
broccolini lasting with over for like 2.5 weeks.
Well, you don't know how long already.
Yeah.
You know, they are in the process when you actually get the job. Yeah, that's true.
Gonna go and like chop it.
Yeah.
But let's say, like,
The woolies one will go.
it probably,
Okay, well, one by one, because with benefit of those actually distance students, well, we have a discussion for anything pop up.
they probably harvested pre its actual like bloom date. Do broccoli bloom? I don't know. Well, it does flower, but like to its, they probably have like, let's say a window of 5 days where it's slightly premature, and then they'll harvest it, and then it might become more broccoli. I don't understand, like,
Well, this is a very creative idea, but broccoli is different from.
That's what they do with bananas, that's what they do with mangoes.
Yeah, that's
No, seriously, that's what they do, they'll harvest them, pick it out later in the supermarket, green bananas. I don't know, I'm not a broccoli scientist.
Broccoli.
I don't know, like,
Broccoli is like
Broccoli is more like a tree in the sense when you cut it off, it stops growing.
yeah, but this there's still food in the stem, it's like tomatoes, it's like when they're on the vine.
Okay, this is a little bit off, but I just
But no.
quickly explain. Well, this is certainly a very creative idea. But the reality is, it works for fruits, and in fact, the horticulture industry actually go this way. Banana is a very good example. You never actually pick bananas, when they actually zero, because it's too late. You can't. Well, if you consume on the spot, fine, but you can't actually transport them. And for lots of fruits, the same thing. That's true, especially for those with softer skin. So you can't wait until they mature, 90% mature even well, most likely they will be harvested probably on 70 or 80. They check the sugar value. Once you reach to certain sugar level, fine. They needed to have the long shelf life, but not for vegetables. We can go for the broccoli thing. Well, when they cut, well, they come off the tree. One thing, when they cut, the temperature goes up sharply because they stop circulation. The circulation actually adjusts the temperature, but if cut off from the stem, will stop circulation, so the temperature goes up very quickly. So that's why we need to have very good temperature control. Okay, well, this is just for the discussion. We don't go into the science side of it. There are actually, this is even just for one type of vegetable. It's by itself is possibly objective research. We did a little bit of research into broccoli, including the science side of it. But just when you consider the options, you do need to touch on say, well, if this shipping, what's the key thing you need to actually to take care of? The shelf life, the perishability, and how quick the process is, and what's roughly the shelf life? Can we actually extend the shelf life? The answer is yes. But the shelf life, regardless of what kind of vegetables or horticultural products, there's a limit. So as long as you provide that thinking, because I can't say, well, this is wrong because the shelf life of broccoli right from the the harvest to the end, well, it's 21 days. I can't say, well, this is 21 days, so you spend 15 days on the road or a transport process, it's wrong. Now, as long as you think about those factors, and then once we get into it, you immediately learn that in your process, the practice you have, how long the broccoli can last, and with its right quality. But the point here is for us, we need to understand when we make a decision, choose a particular notion, you need to understand what's the consequence of what are the things you have to address. So back to this group, what are the main factors affecting the cost of this process? Now this is more to do with the transport. There are lots of other cost factors, but just those factors relate to transport.
So our group, we decided on maritime transport on our shipping for.
Bit loud.
We decided on using shipping for the transport of the broccoli as well to Southeast Asia. So the first one we had learned that was because it was basically the fact that between Australia and Southeast Asia is the absolute barrier of the Pacific Ocean. So shipping is required to make delivery or using airfreight, but since shipping is most certainly the most cost-effective method, that's probably one of the factors we discussed. Another factor would be the hub and spoke system. So by utilizing the Port of Melbourne and perhaps the Port of Singapore, we can increase the frequency of service and reduce costs. Another factor is the economy of scale with container ships. So with Panamax and post-Panamax ships that's going to be going to Port of Melbourne, we can achieve the kind of scale if those ships are filled with containers of broccoli, but that's probably not realistic. As long as the containers are full of containers. Another factor we discussed was containerization in intermodal transport. So by going with the broccoli farmers producing and utilizing his own and organizing his own forms of transport, it's basically a single rate for each of the services that we would ship in a truck, whichever company decides to build it. But if you were to maybe go with the shipping forward of the entire process, there's an increased cost, but obviously you won't have to worry about every single individual piece of the operation itself. There's also we also know tax and tariffs importing goods overseas.
The tariff?
Not,
Yeah.
not really the way to transport. And yeah, I think also the mode of transport will kind of talk about that. So,
Anything else? These guys are doing something else. Anything else? Well, we still have probably a few minutes. I'll just ask a bit more questions. When we say we are going to use containers, so okay, we'll refrigerate the containers, and let's use the small one, 20-foot container. And we're talking about 100 stores. So this is the justification of using containers and most likely full load containers. Think about it. Even if you have 100 stores, along the South Coast, you think about it here. How many kilos of active broccoli can be sold from one supermarket? And how many tons you can actually fill up in one container?
It won't just be one container. It'll be more than one container, it'll be multiple. It will be a shipment.
Yeah. Now the reason I'm asking here is, well, you do need to consider whether this is going to be sold. I assume I'm going to ship, say, one container, full container load of broccoli to that particular country, and through its network of 100 stores chain, hopefully they can sell those probably 10 tons of broccoli within the time frame. So you get the economy of scale, because this is related to the cost side, right? Now, if you assume that you are going to use the full container, then the process you need to slightly adjust the process, because we're talking about Tasmania, mainland, and through mainland you have the transport international connection. Now, if the shipping container has to go through Melbourne, then you will have everything, quarantine, everything done here, not in mainland. Remember, because we have the privilege here, Tasmania is isolated from the mainland, and we got lots of benefits here in terms of horticulture, in terms of vegetables. So you do everything here, and you seal the container, so you don't need to re-inspect the cargoes over there in mainland, possibly get contaminated. So you adjust the process. You just need to understand that. Well, there are some other details here, because any of you actually has been to a sort of vegetable farm at all?
Yes.
Yes. So you should know more detail. So from the paddock to a processing factory, that's what they call processing factory. You walk, sometimes there's a bit of distance, so you use farm machinery animals like a truck, a small truck, so keep moving those bins of harvested broccolis. And you have internal movement as well. So these are all cost factors, internal movements. And if you have cross-Bass Strait transport, you have this shipping side, and then the long journey over the other end, towards the other end. So try to provide as much detail as you possibly can, and look at every movement, you touch on that product, it's a cost factor. You need a machine, you need a person actually doing this. So everything you touch on, everything you do with it, it's a cost factor. So that's why we have something called lean management or lean logistics. So this is to remove anything not adding value out of the process. All right. Okay. Now, another thing I probably want to add in is when you look at the cost side, they say, well, yes, you can use a hub and spoke system. So one thing, this is the frequency issue. And the other thing is the cost issue. You possibly can use larger container ships, and your container is just one of thousands of containers on a ship, but the rate probably be low. Now, the other one is the seasonality. So this is something you need to touch on, because with the same journey, the freight rate can be very, very different. And you doing ship up as well. Some of you doing ship up as well. You'll find there is a seasonal adjustment. So, and sometimes it could be doubled the rate. Okay. The assignment, your assignment is submitted. Most of you submitted. Probably small number probably have extension there, but once you submit, you get it. It's done. So just move on. Leave this behind and just focus on your final exam. And the results should be released from your submission to the release, roughly about 2 weeks, and I'll try to get the results out as soon as possible. Okay? And as I mentioned to some of you, your assignment will be marked by a PhD student just submitted the thesis. I provided 3 or 4 pages of instruction, had a meeting with the marker, and once completed, I'll sample those marking to make sure everything is all right. Okay? Anything? Great. Okay. Let's have a break before we come back. We start at 10 for the class.